best crowd ever. Thank you all for coming tonight. Welcome to RiverArts. My name is Andy Goddard. I'm the director here, and I'm so pleased that you all came, and I apologize that it's a little difficult for a couple of you to see, but we'll do our best. Can everybody see the screen at least? Okay. This is part of our Creative Life series, Extraordinary Journey. I don't want to be in the middle of it. How's that? And expressing spirit through art and medicine. And we're so pleased to have Marj Morani and Tina Morani, Jeff Davis, and Meredith Davies here with us tonight. It's a collaborative project between the healing and the creative arts. And I think it's better if Tina explains the whole process because it's a little difficult for me to wrap my head around. So thank you so much and welcome to RiverArts. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think I have a big job trying to explain this. Thank you for coming. It is amazing to see so many of you come out. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Jeff has a microphone if not. But thank you for coming out and for being open and curious about what we've done. And I wanted to say a few other thank yous. Thank yous for RiverArts for being open to this and opening the gallery to showcase the artwork. When we approached them, we really didn't know how we were going to pull this off, but they trusted us and they opened it up, so thank you very much. And while they're not here, I wanted to thank our friends Brian and Sue Berman. They are the founders of the Institute for Integrative Health, and they funded the project so that we could do a richer experience in the multimedia aspect of it. So I really appreciate that. And thank you to the artists. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them just briefly. First, Mom. Who is as beautiful as her paintings tonight. You know, she was the one of the driving forces to keep this going. Several times I'm like, I do not have the time for this. And she's just like, no, let's keep going and let's keep going. And so the fact that we're here today is because of Mom. And I'm not going to call her Marge, she's going to be Mom for the night, okay? Everyone else might not. And I also wanted to thank Meredith for the work that she put into it. Total leap of faith on Meredith's part, because we're sitting there having a conversation and I had this flaccid insight. Let me get Meredith. I said, Meredith, will you do this with me? And she goes, yes. What are we doing? And so that worked out. Such a rich, rich poetry. And I encourage you to, after this event, to come back and see the exhibit as we have it set up, which is to view the painting, have a smartphone, access the artwork via your smartphone, wear earbuds and listen to Meredith's poetry and Jeff's music while you look at Mom's paintings. I've also written the healing themes next to the paintings so that you know a little bit about what it's about. And with Meredith's poetry, listen to it several times. Every time I hear it, you don't have to do it in there, but every time I hear it, something new is revealed. It's very deep, powerful work, and I'm very happy to have it here. And Jeff, I know I'm very partial to Jeff, my husband, but he is the soundtrack and the graphics, and he has put countless hours into this project. Not only did he compose, but he recorded everything in the home recording studio. Then he worked with the sound engineer to do the mixing. He worked with all the musicians and did most of the playing himself. He also did the graphic design, the kiosk, the interface for the smartphone, and the website. So we wouldn't look as professional as we do without his many, many talents. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I will spend a few minutes giving context to what we did. So, and then we'll turn it over to the artist. Let me see, let's start with where it started. 2 years ago, the idea took root when I was taking a class on the evolution of consciousness using the extraordinary vessels. And I'm the type of person where I really need to dig deep and understand things. I've been working with them for many years, but I wanted to do a little bit more. And so I devised a plan that I would do this all myself. I was going to study the meridians and then do a painting. I had this really grand idea that the paintings would then somehow have the intention and frequency of these meridians, and I was going to hang it up in my office so that when patients came through, they would already start getting the healing benefits. And then I came off the mountain and didn't quite have the same concept. And I was having a conversation with Margot Bailey, and she says, have you ever considered doing a project with your mother? I said, let me think about it. And then what came through was, why not download this information, still do the project that I had talked about to learn, but download the information to her, and then have her do the painting. And then as I started thinking about it, we were using sound and sound healing. So then I asked Jeff. I said, Jeff, would you do the same thing? Let me treat you on each one, and then create a piece based on your experience. And then we already talked about Meredith and I going, yes, yes. So Meredith was then added to it. And what we did was we stepped the artist through these meridians. They spent the year creating, and I spent the year with my new best friends, which is a big pile of books. And I did. I pretty much lugged these things around every day, hoping that osmosis would seep through. But what I would do was I would spend time studying and synthesizing the information. I had about 9 books specifically on the meridians that I was working with, and then a few other on sound healing. And then I would meet once a month or once every 4 to 6 weeks with the artist, and I would do a short lesson, 20 minutes, on the healing potential or possibilities of the meridians. And then what they would do was they would go home, they would journal, take notes, and think about how it related to their creative process. Then they would come back, one at a time. We would do individual appointments, and we would talk about what they thought about, what they journaled about, what was going on with their creativity, and how this meridian related to it. And we set an intention. And then we went into the treatment room, we did a treatment, they hopped off the table. One of them, Jeff, immediately started humming into his smartphone usually. The other 2 would go home and kind of work things out, and then we would repeat the cycle 8 times. And so that's kind of the how of what we did. And we didn't really know how well the work was going to link up until 3 weeks ago. We started, because they did their work separately. And then we started putting the work together, putting together the website, and we didn't start working on this till last Saturday, but which had a few revelations as well. And we started seeing resonant frequencies and similarities in all the work. And so my original idea did come through in the three of their work. So I would be really pleased if everyone would go through and listen to it at another time and just really absorb what was going on. I personally, when I was in the room after we hung it, I could feel a shift. I could feel the power coming off of the paintings. It was very palpable to me. And before I turn this over to the artists, I wanted to give you a very brief explanation of what these meridians are and what Acutonics, the sound system, is. The meridians that we were using are extraordinary because that's what they are. They're extraordinary. They are the first 8 energetic pathways that are developed in utero. The first 8 cell divisions, we start having your 8 extra meridians. And because of that, they are really, really close to who your source soul self is, who you really are. And we can use them as a pathway, a roadmap back to who that is. And why is that important? We all come in with a gift. We all come in with a purpose and a destiny. And these give us a way to link back to that, to link back to a time before social and cultural situations start shaping who we are. And for the project, we did creativity, artwork. But it's not limited to that. The creativity can be the passion, whatever you have in your life. It could be gardening, cooking, parenting, teaching. It doesn't matter. It is coming at it with what your gift is and giving that gift to the world. And that is what this was really about. And the healing that happened is this cross-pollination that we did. And just some of the nuts and bolts, the Acutonics, I'm hoping most of you watched the video. I have some of my toys here. We'll have a question and answer at the end if you're really curious about it and I haven't treated you before. I can talk to you a little bit about what it is, but in a nutshell, it's the applied use of sound on acupuncture points using Chinese medicine theory to make a shift. So we don't use needles, we use sound. I used both, but you can do a full treatment just using sound. And the extraordinary, wait, that's it. That's all we need to say. Sorry. Okay. So I wanted to read a quotation before I turn this over. What's going to happen is after I pass the baton, each artist is going to stand up, and they always make me go first, by the way. They did that with the video as well. But each one will talk a little bit about their process, and then at the end of each person's sharing, we will perform one of Jeff's pieces, and Meredith will do a poetry, and we'll show the artwork. So we're going to try to do that combination so that you can experience it here. But I wanted to share a quotation. Acutonics, the organization that I teach with and study with, puts out a newsletter, and they had a quotation that really, really fit well with what we were doing. And it was from a Russian painter, Kandinsky, and I did a little more research on him, even though I knew who he was. And one thing I didn't know that I wanted to share was he was the first person credited with painting the first recognizable, purely abstract work. And I thought that was a beautiful connection to Mom's work. And he shifted to abstract work after a long period of what I call deep thinking. He really contemplated his art and his life. And he said the central aspect to his art was the devotion to inner beauty, fervor of spirit, and spiritual desire. So here in the late 1800s, Kandinsky was doing really what we're trying to bring forth. And the quotation I wanted to share: generally speaking, color directly influences the soul. Color is the keyboard. The eyes are the hammers. The soul is the piano with many strings. The artist is the hand that plays, touching one key or another purposefully to cause vibrations in the soul.
I think I'm next. I'll be a little quicker, I think. When Tina and I first started this project, my challenge was, how do I take something that's unseen and make it visible on canvas? And there's no roadmap for that. So, thanks to Kandinsky, I guess, I decided to use color. So, after each treatment, I would get off the table and I would try to think, what color did I feel was in that energy? And whatever that was, I would go back to my studio and I would do it on a little piece, being very parsimonious. And then if that worked out, I would put it on a big piece. So I'm just going to talk about one or two paintings to show you where that comes from. So this is the Ren. It's called Ren Mai, right? Can you all hear me? Yeah. This is the Ren Mai. And that's kind of an inner energy. You can feel it going in. It's like a meditative thing, where you're thinking things over, how it's going to be, how you relate to people, that sort of thing. So to me, those colors were kind of a purpley, greeny, bluey type. And so that's what I put on there. You may wonder what the spots are, and I just put them on there for no reason. They just needed to go. So the other ones that do. This is kind of the opposite of the Ren. This is outward energy. This is going out. It was kind of joyful, kind of fun. And when I got off the table, all I could think of was yellow, orange. It's got to be yellow and orange. So that's what it is. And after I got it done, it needed a little something. So I put up there the variegated copper leaf, kind of give it some pizzazz. So that's how that one got done. So just to give you an idea what's meaning behind the paintings. So then we come to the dye, and this is the one we're all going to take part in, I think, right? Yeah. But I wanted to kind of share with you a little bit about my own experience to show you what the benefits are. The dye is a meridian that goes around your middle, and it's where you stuff stuff. The stuff you don't want to deal with, you don't like, you just stick it down there and then you forget about it. Marty knows this, but I told him. And so this is what I want to tell you what happened to me when I had this treatment. I was born into an Irish Catholic family, and there it was God, the priest, and your parents, in that order. So on my 12th birthday, everyone's going, yeah, we know that. On my 12th birthday, I was given a set of paints. I had never had any oil paints, and one brush and a canvas board. And I thought, God, I can paint something. I'm going to launch my art career. As we did. So I didn't know what to paint, and in those days, the nuns used to give us holy cards to the good kids. And of course, I was a good kid, and I had a holy card, and I thought, well, I'll just paint the holy card. So I painted the holy card, and I thought it was gorgeous, and so did my parents. They were very, very complimentary. So one night, the parish priest came, and my mother said, why didn't you show Father your painting? I was thrilled. I got the painting, I came running out, and I showed it to him, and he hated it. He didn't say one nice thing. He just tore it apart. It was no good. It was useless. And the only sentence I can really remember was, saints don't wear lipstick. I don't know what that meant, but he really crushed me. So it went into the dye mine. And I went on about my business and never thought any more about it. But for the rest of my life, whenever I was painting, no matter what I painted, it was never right. It never felt right. There was something always wrong, something that didn't work. And after this treatment, I thought, oh, that's Father Ahern talking. It has nothing to do with me. And it was so liberating because it gave me the opportunity to explore, to experiment, to do what I want. I didn't have to worry about approval from anybody. It was just the most wonderful thing. So I don't know whether my art will change, but I did. I changed a lot, and it was wonderful. As the treatments went on, they got more and more powerful, but I can't share all that. So I'll just turn it over.
Jeff, I'm flattered that you think I'm this tall. Maybe a few years ago. Sorry.
No, not for this one.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm not doing my
This
job.
woman needs a treatment.
I do. So sorry.
Stonehenge. Sarsen, from the Anglo-Saxon sar, meaning troublesome, and stan, meaning stone. So much trouble, moving bluestones from Preseli, sleds and barges, oxen teams. How many men to hoist the immense sarsens, to settle them across the notched supports, and why? It was a calendar, we say. It was a tomb. We find the shattered bones of those they left here, marking time by each new absence at sunrise and at solstice, and in the moonlight when rain hung like a shawl on huge shoulders. Now we must walk carefully. The center could collapse beneath the weight of so many tourists. Ropes keep us at a safe distance, where we circle slowly in measured steps of awe, of envy. We wish we could place our troubles at the feet of the lintels. We mark our days on little screens, squeeze mammoth grief into very small pockets.
So most of the audience can't see them, but I have Nevin Dawson on the viola over here, and I have Rebekah Hock on the oboe. I just want to thank all the musicians that extended their art to this project for me. I want to do a little bit of backstory. I'd gotten in this kind of a rut where I really wasn't composing. I think over the last 10 years I may have written 2 pieces that were worth saving. One I actually even recorded. I was really thinking, maybe it's time to just, hang this thing up. Maybe just time to get rid of the gear and find a way to be me in another, vehicle. And then came along an incredibly talented astrologer by the name of Kitty Hatcher. And she said, she was reading my chart, and she said, there's this wealth of creativity that's just around the corner for you. And I'm just like, I listened to it because, that's the kind of thing you want to hear. It's like somebody tells you, oh yeah, just keep going and it'll be there. And I did. And but something else magical was happening at that same point in time. And that was the Pam Ortiz band was doing something incredible in this town. And that was their Songs for Our Future. That I saw community come together in a way I never had. It was beautiful.
We're with you.
Thank you. So here comes this project. I want to talk a little bit about one called the Yang Chow, and that's, for me, the experience that I had was I got to see myself as the healthiest man I could be. I didn't have the best role models, and so for me to see this original self was really powerful. I'm not going to play the piece, but I wanted to play a little bit about what that felt like. And kind of the composition process for me was I'd have the treatment, and like Tina said, I would either hum into a device or I'd start journaling right away. And I'd try to filter what this was like. And the Yang Chow for me was, there was a lot of movement, a lot of dance. I just felt like that was the most powerful male instinct in my original self, was it just was movement and swang. And I tried to really think about what that meant or what that was. And the closest I could come to finding it in my mind was, Bob Marley, doing a Bob Marley tune. I can't feel bad listening to Bob Marley. It doesn't matter what kind of day I've got. I put Bob Marley on, and I am just one world, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. It's powerful. His music is powerful. When I sat down to write this, it wasn't to be reggae. It was more to be danceable but not danceable, cocky but not cocky, ego and in your face but not ego and in your face. And I'll just play a little bit of it, and then we'll move on. So that was the feeling that I got, or that's the best compositional piece I could come up to express that feeling. And that was my method for all of the pieces. If you are able to take the time and take them in, that's hopefully you get that. So onward and upward. So the piece I am going to play, do I have this right?
We need to switch instruments.
I'm gonna play the do-my as I'm preparing the piece. Meredith is going to read her poetry for the do-my, and Nevin Dawson is also going to be performing. The melody for the piece was recorded by a really good buddy of mine, sax player, who could not be here this evening. He is at home with his 2 girls, while his wife is giving a seminar lecture in Washington. And the drummer, who was part of this project, he is on vacation in Machu Picchu. So I forgive them and thank Nevin for at the very last minute stepping up and working this out.
Spider web in a sycamore tree. I only spot the long white wisps because they hold a carcass twisting in the morning breeze. Invisible against my roof's light molding until a puff of air disturbs it, and I see it holds a constellation of small bodies, some dead, some still scrambling up the scrim of silky thread, waving gently from a higher limb.
Aside, Nevin and I never played that song together, ever. I just mentioned it to him last night. And so,
So I'm the last to speak, which means that everybody else has already said everything that I plan to say, so that makes it easy to keep this short. I just want to mention that I had never heard Marj's story about Father Ahern before, but that carcass that was twisting in the spider web, that was him. So when Tina asked me to join up, I, as she said, no questions, no hesitation, no reservations, because I knew that Tina was an intuitive genius that she is a true artist and a healer. And I felt immediately honored to be asked to get on board with something with these incredible people. And it's been a real privilege. There was a mention of free treatments.
It was.
That was a little incentive too. So these profound effects, that you've heard about, I thought I might try to tell you in my own experience what I would experience as a profound effect. The poetry I write is primarily eco-poetry. I've taught eco-poetry, which is kind of a sexy name for nature poetry, but it goes a little further than that. It's poetry that comes from basically a belief that we are all part of one large organism, and that there's really nothing, frankly, at all that separates us. And so this project and Tina's treatments really appealed to me because I thought it might be a chance to experience what I would describe as wholeness. The word heal actually comes from the Old English word for whole, that's W-H-O-L-E. And so that healing really means literally to make whole. And because we're all part of something larger, we're all capable of healing, we're all capable of experiencing that wholeness. And to me, the treatments gave me a sense, again, through these sound vibrations, I could feel that I was connected to something larger, which was hugely comforting. But I also had a strong sense of myself as an individual. And this notion that popped into my head was that, as individuals, as in our separate state, we're able to experience and grow and change. And if we didn't have the little traumas, and sometimes not so little traumas, we wouldn't have anything to give back. So it's been a real privilege to experience that. And I want to thank Tina first and foremost, and also my fellow artists for sharing in that with me. The revelation that we were actually having a conversation came to me only later and should have been no surprise. But we each worked independently, but we did have the same instruction, and so there were some common seeds planted. And I was going to ask Tina to cue up. The reason Jeff's not playing more of his music is a lot of it is electronic and involves sampling and things that it'd be pretty hard to recreate here. But I wanted to just hear the opening of his, is it Yin Chow? Yeah.
Yin Chow.
Yeah. And then I'm going to read my poem and see if you don't hear something. Okay, so hopefully there were some recognizable things there. And this again is in response to the Yin Chow. Bird song, whale song. I read somewhere that if you slow down bird song, you'll hear whale song. The same patterns repeating in different tempos. Somewhere a bird is singing my song. When I was born, my older brothers turned my name to bird song. Meredith, Meredith, to mimic the Italians who had no TH in the final syllable. To mimic the chickadees that appeared in their bedtime stories. Go ahead, bring us a girl, they said. We will change her name. When I married, I changed my name. Where's your birth certificate? The visiting clerk from Social Security asked me. I don't have one, I said, though I had a passport. you could be deported, the official side. A researcher slowed birdsong down to study its patterns. Then he sped up whale song. Somewhere in the middle, he found overlap. I remember a film clip we saw in school, the bottom of the ocean, draped with starfish who barely moved. Then, a simulated version in starfish time. Now, they lived a lifetime in just 1 minute. Fish blinking in and out of the frame like stars through strands of clouds on a dark night. It's all the same. Bird song, whale song, in different time signatures. Slow down these lines to hear ice creaking as it drifts closer to the sun. Okay, so for our grand finale, we're going to perform the Renmai. And I'm hoping that we have the red line on the screen. Oops, that's not the Renmai.
Hey,
I wanted to make you feel disappear.
Renmai, bird song, dog song, it's all the same.
I haven't a clue. He's gonna have to be the red mic.
Okay. Rin Tin Tin. All right.
Okay, everyone ready?
Thanksgiving. Because I wake up here, where a kingfisher flits to a piling, where the heron strides his patient watch, and a sparrow chips away at the feeder. Birds go about their business, the winged body of one soul lodged briefly in another, stitching clouds to the tide. From somewhere a shotgun stutters, one goose tumbles, skims the edge of soft and familiar. No wind, no sound beyond my own breathing, just a thick, hovering sky. The bare limbs hold it,